doctor that recommends his patients to smoke. It sounds horrible, but I think cannabis through the lungs acts very differently than cannabis, which is taken orally.
You begin slowly and low. This is for cannabis. Go slowly and go low. This is my practice.
I'm a criminal. Come on.
It's Reefer MEDness, the podcast with Trevor and Kirk.
Kirk, we're back. I'm Trevor Schufelt.
Hey, Trevor.
I'm the pharmacist.
How's it going?
I am good. Who are you again?
I'm Kirk Nyquist. I'm the registered nurse. And we are Reefer MEDness, the podcast.
So we've been spending more than a couple, but the last couple episodes we've been talking with Jan, a Dutch guy who done cannabis stuff all over Europe, a lot in Switzerland, but ended up, he's still trying to get legal hash out of Morocco into Europe, and it's going okay, but there's still a few hurdles, especially with getting heavy metals out of the hash so it makes the European standards. And in the process of all that, we did mention a company called SOMACAN a couple times. So tell us a little bit about SOMACAN and what we're going to be listening to this time around.
This is a car ride that I had with one of the employees of SOMACAN. This conversation happened. This happened when I was in Morocco, and to put it in order, we spoke to Dr. Rabi. I was in Marrakesh, you were in Winnipegosis, and he was in Casablanca, and we had a conversation with Dr. Rabi, and he kind of explained to us the problems he was having with King Mohammed VI, who declared that he wants Morocco medical cannabis and international legal Moroccan cannabis businesses happening. And he was explaining that the difficulties he was having with having cannabis as medicine. And then that conversation happened. We recorded it, put it on the shelf. I continued my trip. I was in the meantime still communicating with Jan, and the plan was that I would go to a community on the southern slopes of the Rif Mountains and meet him and his team. So when Michelle and I were in Fez, we got a regional taxi. In Morocco, you have local taxis and regional taxis. The regional taxis are what take you out of a community and into another community. Sort of like for us, it'd be like I would take a regional taxi to get to Winnipeg, opposed to the local taxi that might take me to St. Rose, right? So,
like back when there were Greyhound buses.
Yeah, but this is a chauffeur-driven taxi that costs a little bit more money, and so we get one of those, and we go on a highway going north from Fez, and it was interesting because as we got on this highway, we started seeing a lot of construction happening, big construction, and I later learned that there's a big, like a 10-year project for the king. He wants to have a huge highway going into that region. And so we were following the construction, and off we went. I think it was about a 45-minute to an hour drive. It seemed longer. And we went to a town, and I'm not gonna do well with the pronouncing it. We were calling it Tutuan, but it's an Arabic name. It's a town that is on a plateau. And Michelle and I went to a small Riyadh hotel, and we met the team there, and we were to meet them the next morning. So that day we went for a walk. We went up. We walked. I think we walked a good 200 meters into the air over a period of 1.5 kilometers to meet this fella, and they took us for a drive to SOMACAN. And I got an interview from the gentleman. He's asked to be called Anonymous, and that sort of talks a little bit about what's happening in Morocco right now. What we learned from Jan was how they're trying to take an ancient industry. I mean, the keef cultivar, which they call Bella, which he talks about in the interview, it's a local cultivar that grows in the Rif Mountains. They figure it's 3,000 years old, and in the last 1,000 years, it's become a landrace, a hybrid landrace that has basically adapted itself to the soils of Morocco. And Morocco has very poor soil. And Jan talked about that. He talked about some of the disadvantages of the local varietal, how it sucked up the heavy metals, but it also has low potency and also grows in one long sativa stem with no secondary branches. It's a very unique cultivar. A lot of things in Morocco is unique, such as the argan oil, but I digress. So it's a unique cultivar that grows in a very tough environment. So the farmers have been growing this seed, this cultivar, for 1,000 years, and as this speaker says to us, they're good at making hash, and they're good at making keef, and they called it pollen. And I think he calls it pollen because one of the characteristics of the keef cultivar is its honey aromas and terpenes. So this interview really brings together the Dr. Rabi interview and the Jan van Wien's interview. And it's ironic because I had it like months ago. So it's a good interview.
All right, well, let's get into Mr. Anonymous in the car ride and then come back out.
I'm the quality manager in SOMACAN. I've been in the industry for over a year now. Because the industry, what we call legal cannabis in Morocco, it started about 3 years ago. Because before it was all illegal. So the legislation just new, but the cannabis itself in Morocco, it's something very old. So we had the black market before. That's why the transition's a bit, it's going slower than what we thought in the beginning. But it's still going on. Right now, in 23, we have started that was the legalization process. It started just with CBD hash. CBD cannabis just what was allowed by the government. And then last year, 24, the campaign of 2024, they added the THC one, but just for one strain. It's the Beldia strain, which is the local Moroccan hash. Right now we still have just for THC, it's just the one that has been allowed, plus CBD. For SOMACAN we do both. We have both production of CBD and for Beldia. Last year we had over 200 tons of Beldia. I'm talking about biomass.
200 pounds of biomass?
200 tons.
200 tons
of biomass. So we have a big factory. Don't you say it later? At the big factory, and we have last year we have about 220 hectares of Beldia, and about the same in CBD. This year we have more in Beldia. We have over 400 hectares on Beldia.
Beldia?
Beldia, it's the THC, the THC strain, the Moroccan strain on.
The cultivar?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one that we see mostly here in Morocco. We have other strains that the imported one, but the one that is predominant here is the local one. That's what they sold in the black market.
So the biomass, is that just flower, or does that include leaf and stem?
It include leaf and stem.
Okay. And so
after, when we get it from the farmers, we separate the stems from the leaf.
and you talk about the hash. So when you are extracting your CBD, are you extracting it as hash and then extracting the CBD from the hash?
First we extract the pollen.
The pollen.
The pollen. The
Okay.
pollen. We can call it hash when it's pressed. But the first form is the pollen. This one that we extracted from the biomass, the biomass without stems, because we separate stems before.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
And then we have an extraction. We have an extraction process just for CBD. It's not. We want it to be for THC also, but right now just for CBD. We can get CBD isolate or CBD distillate. Get that at 99% of CBD. We have invested in this project, and we're still investing because, as I said earlier, it's just new. The factory is 2.5 years old. The factory itself is less than 2 years, but the company is 2.5 years old.
And is the company mostly local investment or international investment?
Just local investment right now.
Okay. And where is the market for your product? Is the market local?
That depends on which product. Because we have many products. I'll show you everything when we get there. We have many products on the market. It's mostly in Europe. Because for THC, we just got the pollen and the resin, of course.
Okay.
We can sell it to pharmaceutical companies in Europe. And for CBD, we can sell it also in Morocco. We can sell it locally. Because many pharmaceutical companies here in Morocco use our CBD in order to do cosmetics and additive for alimentary stuff. And we invest also in our own cosmetic brand. We don't have the cosmetic here, but we externalize the cosmetics and the alimentary additives to companies that are working with us, that are creating those markets for us.
Are there resistance in Morocco? Morocco is very big on olives. Morocco is very big on argan oil. Is local market resistant to cannabis, or are they excited about cannabis?
The local market, we need to talk about Morocco itself. There's many regions in Morocco. Right now, in this region, the Reef region or the region that are near the Reef region, they have the knowledge of the cannabis and they accept it. But outside of those regions, it's still some resistance. When you say hash and go to Casablanca, for example, the term hash is something that is forbidden.
Is what?
It's something that's forbidden. If
Forbidden.
you say it, they think that the police will come and they will catch you. Many people, even right now, they don't know that Morocco has invested in legal cannabis, or we have the legal process of cannabis. Just the interested people that knows, but I'm talking about the mass. Many don't know till now that cannabis is legal.
And cannabis is legal for medicinal, for medical.
For medical.
And how about industrial, like industrial hemp? Is industrial hemp or legal? Or is it just medical CBD and medical THC?
Right now, it's just for medical.
Okay. In my understanding, that is coming from the king himself. The king wants it to happen.
No.
Is that true, or is that a right understanding?
That's the project is something that the king himself has instructed, and he's developing, and that's for development of this region, because this region for the reef they were doing the hash for many, not just for many years, for many centuries.
Yes.
They were doing hash, but right now it's becoming legal. They all have the knowledge. When we talk about the farmers, they have the knowledge of cannabis, and now we are adding this knowledge to the scientific knowledge that we can get from outside.
So the local farmers know how to grow cannabis.
They know how to grow cannabis, they know how to dry cannabis, they know how to get good hash. They have many investment in cannabis, and they are helping us, because right now we're the facility we have in Beldia, we have 22 cooperatives that for us to get cannabis from.
22 growers, farmers?
Not farmers,
No.
cooperatives.
Cooperatives.
The farmers are groups, grouping in cooperatives.
Okay.
And every cooperative, some have from 10 to 50 people.
And these would be farmers that used to be hash farmers. They used to make hash. Did they form the corporations, the cooperatives? Did they form it after legalization?
That's right. Before they were doing hash. I'm talking about the black.
Yes, the black market.
Black market, but after that they were doing hash. When legalization started, they are doing hash on the legal way. They group themselves in cooperatives, and then they sign the contract with our company in order to get the hash directly from them. As I said earlier, the first year we're just doing CBD, so we
Okay.
have to provide the seeds, because CBD seeds are not local to Morocco, so we had to import the cannabis, the seeds. But after that, we did get the authorization last year for Beldia, so we used the Moroccan strain.
Okay. So
Yeah.
these were the seeds you brought.
I'm going to show you everything and
Okay.
facility, not check.
Thank you for that.
So, Kirk, Mr. Anonymous had lots of interesting things to say. He talked about the local, we'll call it varietal or local cultivar quite a bit, and how right now it sounds like the local farmers and local co-ops are kind of struggling a little bit with this whole legal, non-legal thing. You know, they've been, like you said, growing cannabis forever, but, you know, it hasn't been legal, so it's all kind of under the table. But then the king said it's legal, so they formed local co-ops, so groups of farmers together to sort of grow stuff in the legal. But it, sort of meshing in with what Jan was saying, growing pains. So, when everything was illegal, you could, as Jan mentioned, you could charge whatever you want. Now, if everybody gets their own cut, like the co-ops, well, then the price of the end product is way higher than what you could buy other types of hash for in Europe. And it was interesting. And my sort of takeaway was lots of stigma and lots of sort of black market, gray market, what's legal, what's not, can we talk, and right back to the fact he didn't want to be identified, talks to the fact it's not seen as quite kosher. I think that was kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things here I need to sort of remind people of. I'm not sure if I explained this before, but we drove to this town, met the team. They drove us towards the factory, we got the SOMACAN, and we walked in and we were placed in the boardroom. And we were in the boardroom, Michelle and I were in the boardroom for a good 10, 15 minutes. It seemed odd, but they came back and said, we can't go any further because you didn't get the proper authority to come into the factory. And actually, because we were at the factory, everyone started getting nervous because we shouldn't have been there in the first place because we didn't get the authority. Hence, one of the reasons why this became anonymous. The individual wants to be anonymous because there was some question about our authority to be there. But as everyone sort of calmed down, we talked a lot about culture there. And they were explaining to me, the farmers, a little bit deeper stuff, and showed me some of the products. SOMACAN will have a link on our webpage, so you'll see the cosmetic departments. And they brought chunks of hash, and they were blonde hash. And as we were talking, they were using the word keef. And I thought they were talking about keef. You know, the keef is the stuff that you shake out of your, you know, you grind your weed and you get keef on the bottom of the grinder. And that's how they make hash, is it's through the static method. Jan was using that terminology, the static hash, and that's sifting it. And they were showing me blonde hash and they were showing me dark black hash. And Jan was talking about how they was doing CBD cultures, and they were also doing some of the local keef, which would have been the local cannabis. I talked about it before we did the interview at the start of this podcast. One thing that I've learned since, and I've been doing some reading about Morocco and this particular cultivar, and was the fact that they're really worried about this land race, losing this land race. And one of the reasons is because of all the hemp they're bringing in, because, you know, hemp, medicinal cannabis is now legal, CBD is now legal in Morocco. These hemp plants are flowering and sending pollen out and pollinating the keef plants. So there is a threat. Morocco might lose their ancient land race because of the king's pressure. So there's a lot of stuff happening. I guess, you know, in these 4 stories specifically about Morocco, is that what we kind of uncovered is that there's a threat to the Moroccan way of life when it comes to the Rif region of Morocco, in the sense that the hash, you know, the most imported illegal hash in the world comes from Morocco. That's a threat to that because of this happening. So there's a lot of dynamics. I'm so pleased we got these stories. And I think there's so much more that we missed just by not understanding what we know now. Does that make sense? Like, coming this far, what we know now, boy, if I'd known when I got there, there'd be a whole different bunch of stories, I guess.
I thought, now, we were talking about CBD versus THC. I wasn't sure when you were in the car if you and Mr. Anonymous were having a language barrier when you were trying to talk about hemp versus marijuana, CBD versus THC. I looking back now, I don't know that we're having a language barrier so much as, like you said, there is sort of a push, and looking back, understandably so, for CBD products, because at the moment that sort of medicinal and CBD goes together. So yeah, it is interesting. And just so, but back to the land race, the varietal, other than that sort of what Moroccan hash has come from the past, how many ever thousand years, is there, and it's, you know, tall and skinny, you mentioned that, is there anything special about the hash? I'm just, as someone who, I'm not sure I've ever seen it or smelled it or whatever.
Actually,
does it smell different? Does a different high? Like, what's the purported magic with this?
Yes. Actually, there is. Like I said, I've been doing some research, and I do remember as a kid, Moroccan hash was huge, and I think in one of the Spain stories I talk about. One of the compassion clubs, one of the cannabis clubs had Moroccan hash. Moroccan hash, what I know about Moroccan hash, and again, I was in Morocco. I never had an opportunity to consume any hash. It just never happened. And quite frankly, it probably shouldn't have happened anyways because it's illegal. But Moroccan hash it's a blonde hash. It is known to be very mellow. It's not a high THC, again, considering the cultivar. And but actually, where Moroccan hash came from, my understanding, it started in the 60s when Westerners traveled to Morocco because Morocco grew good pot. Now, this is in the 60s. So they used to get, and I think David Crosby talked about getting Moroccan hash up from Morocco that he fed the Beatles.
When we became friends, they were very interested in the birds when we went over there the first time. They were very kind to us. They came and saw our shows. They took us to their houses. They drove us home from gigs. They hung out with us, and it was a very good relationship. And I had much better weed than anybody in England. A friend of mine had just come back from Africa to London and had African weed that was just stunningly good, and they had never had it. And they were still at the stage where you take some hash and break it up and put it on some tobacco, It's really a terrible way to get high. And I had actual weed that would really do what it's actually supposed to, and that was a total thrill for them.
So they were getting, I guess they were our Mexico, Europe's Mexico. I mean, where we were getting our cannabis in the 60s and 70s, it was from Mexico or Colombia, so it was coming from the hemispheres. So from that hemisphere, Morocco was getting. So I'm hypothesizing here and putting together what I believe happened. The hippies started flocking down, the Westerners, the 60s and the early 70s, and taught them how to make hash through sifting. So what they started doing was concentrating the high, because of course it's an extract of cannabis in the sense of getting the concentration, and they discovered that it's a fast acting, quick onset feeling, and dissipates quickly. So, and it's very tasty. And I was saying to you before that it has a honey-like quality to it. So it's a very tasty hash, quick onset, and passes quickly. So that's a unique hash. And you can compare it against Afghani hash, and other hashes have different things. So that's my understanding about the hash. And it's at risk.
That is fascinating. And jump in with anything else, but just let's see if we can't put some kind of bow on yours and Michelle's whole road stories. So
road stories.
So we sort of started in Spain, and you were checking out compassion clubs and other stuff added to CBD, like these THC and then alphabet, THC O and D, and added on, which seemed to be sort of lab modified cannabinoids to make your CBD flower get you high. And then from there we went, like you said, to Morocco, talked to Dr. Rabi, who's, a smart guy involved in the medical end and seems to be one of the king's sort of lead emissaries for trying to get Moroccan medicinal marijuana, medicinal cannabis, medicinal hash used and exported. And from there to sort of Jan, and I guess a Moroccan foreigner, but someone who really appreciates what's going on in Morocco, seeing what he can do to get Moroccan hash to Europe and then probably the rest of the world. I know I skipped a lot of spots, but what else do you sort of highlights do you want to remind people of from your odyssey?
In the 6 weeks that I was away and sort of searching for cannabis stories, what I learned is that, first of all, through the first episode and the compassion clubs, I'm calling compassion clubs, the cannabis clubs of Spain, is that the cannabis culture is worldwide. It's like people that like cannabis throughout the world have the same thing. I mean, one of the fellas in Barcelona talked about how cannabis brings people together that are like people. The young lady in Madrid that cannabis brings her in and allows her to get in touch with herself. The young lady from Italy that lives in Barcelona who uses it medicinally. There's a real common thread in cannabis in Spain and Canada and America, the different stories we've got. The other thing I thought about the whole way industry finds a way to make money. Okay, so hemp's legal, marijuana's not, so let's get hemp and let's just throw a whole bunch of stuff on hemp so that we can call it hemp and you can get high. That's just industry making money. That's just ingenuity of the human person to say, okay, let's work around the law. And that's what's happening in the States right now with some of their hemp products is being manipulated into these new manufactured, and are they manufactured? They're still cannabis products, but they've been adjunct, they've been worked on.
Tweaked.
Yeah. The whole Morocco story, that just sort of fell in my lap. Like I said, I never went there with any idea what I was doing. I knew I was in the Rif Mountains. I could see cannabis growing around me. I was with a group of friends that were not cannabis centric. So to honor them, I did not go out exploring cannabis when I was in the north section of the Rif Mountains. But I did have contacts. So once we parted ways, I made my contacts, and we learned a lot about Moroccan cannabis, and it sort of stems from your visit to CanMed several years ago when we got they had their first conference. So I really enjoyed it. I want to thank everybody that was involved and helped us and trusted me with this story. This last one was the most sensitive. The individual that I was with treated Michelle and I really well, and he's a very kind man, and it's a shame that I'm using his name as Anonymous. I could always get a hold of him, and maybe down the road in another episode I'll identify him, but he was a very nice guy, and he had another sidekick with him who also a young man, but he also treated us well. So it was a good visit, Trevor, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it. And I hope to be back on the road and get more road stories.
And we hope so too. And we're really hoping that if you've learned a little bit about Spain, Morocco, Peter Vermeulen, extracting cannabis,
yeah, Peter, forgot all about
yeah.
Peter. Peter was what a wonderful guy.
So we're hoping you enjoyed all these Kirk and Michelle on the road episodes as much as we did, and hope you'll come back for more Kirk on the road and possibly stuff in Dauphin. But yeah, we've really enjoyed this trip through Europe and North Africa, and we hope you guys have too.
So what do we have? We got 2, 4, 6, 8 episodes. Wow, they're all good.
They are
ones.
all good ones. And this has been another good one. I'm Trevor Schufeld. I'm the pharmacist.
I'm still Kirk. I'm the registered nurse. We're Reefer MEDness, the podcast. There's pictures of my trip to the south slopes of the Rift. There's a few pictures there, and our web page is truly a resource.
ReeferMed.ca.
I've made some changes to it.
ReeferMed.ca.
That's
Go
it.
there.
Go there. And I've made some recent changes to it again, and I'm playing with it and added research to it. So yeah, go have a look. It's a dynamic little page, and we like people to hit it. And oh, by the way, give us 5 stars, man.
Absolutely. On any of your podcast apps, we're usually at ReeferMed. We're at Reefer MEDness. We're at Reefer MEDness, and most of them, their socials. Find us, like us, give us 5 stars. We like making these. Give us a reason to keep doing them.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Talk to you later.
Check out the complete library of Reefer MEDness episodes at reefermed.ca. And make sure to follow us on all the socials for bonus info on what Trevor and Kirk are up to.
Let me start again.